I don't fully understand this concept of lifestyle business. People talk about I'm building a lifestyle business. I work 2 hours a day and I earn millions. Like, I don't understand it. Maybe I don't have it in me to work 2 hours and earn millions. So for me, fundamentally, if you're building a mission-driven business, it's about creating impact, and the impact has to be felt at scale.
Yes.
You can't provide impact if it's not at scale. If I just impact one person, it's not a mission-driven business. It's a positive relationship.
Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of Clean Your Toilet podcast. I'm Angelia. I'm the founder of Babies Please Fertility Wellness. So basically we take care of clients who are preparing their journey to become a parent. Today I have with me Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Chen. I am a PhD researcher, a HR practitioner, a mother of a 5-year-old boy. And then I run a boutique HR fractional strategy consulting co-grow, and we support startups, scale-ups, and corporate innovators on thinking about how to do HR differently.
Wow, this is so impressive.
No, I'd love to hear more about what you do preparing people for parenthood.
People for parenthood, yeah. So yeah, we work alongside with couples who are trying to conceive, whether it's naturally or via IVF, preparing their body, and also taking care of ladies who have unfortunately undergo misfortune of recurring pregnancy loss. Okay, my story really began before I even started Babies Please. So back then when I was working for someone else as a senior operation manager, right? I was given the order to terminate older staff, which was against my value, and it is not something that I would want to compromise. But of course, I paid the price for it. And then, this is the reason why it gave me the strength to start a business of my own. Yeah, okay. I started the business in 2017. However, in 2018, we received a very serious family health scare, and followed by COVID-19 in 2019. Yeah, so this is a tough journey, but this actually made us who we are today. Yeah, okay. So, Susan, for your case-wise, right, how do you reinvent yourself when career, health, and personal life collides?
I think if I think about a moment, when that all collide, I guess is when I became a mother, right? So 5 years ago, I think it completely changes my relationship with my body, because being a mother, I actually had a emergency C-section, so I wasn't prepared. So I actually had no epidural up until I was doing a natural birth, right? I did that all the way through, no epidural. And then they said the baby's stuck, you have to. So then I still had to, go into the theater, and it was during COVID. So my husband couldn't be in the theater. So I think it was quite a traumatic birth in a sense that I wasn't fully prepared. So I feel like my physical recovery took a long time. And I think because of COVID, I couldn't get any help, right? So my parents couldn't come visit. They live in New Zealand and family in Taiwan. And then also we couldn't get a helper. It was a really lonely journey going into this new parenthood. So I think that was this whole piece of because I wasn't prepared, I wasn't sure how much I was enjoying that part of parenthood. And of course, being a parent, new parent means that you have a changing relationship with your husband. Right now, it's not just you and your husband. Now we are partnering, trying to raise this little mush ball. And at the same time, I've always been really career focused before having a kid. And then now navigating COVID and going back to work. And, I'm working in HR as a head of HR at the time for a startup, a big startup. Really also had to rethinking my own HR practice, right? Because during COVID, all of a sudden, everyone had to navigate what is remote work, what that looks like. There was a lot of shift in the expectations of HR. So it felt like a pretty interesting time where everything collides. And then definitely, I don't think that was necessarily the best time for me to explore, like in terms of at the, not in the peak of my physical health, not in the peak of necessarily my career or the peak of understanding what being a good wife and good mother or looks like.
Well, this is really a very tough, challenging, but yet the strength in you really shows who you really are. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's hard, right? And then, you run a business as well, right? But also I can imagine transitioning during the COVID. So tell us a little bit more about your journey.
Well, for my journey, reinvention wasn't a path or a moment that I want to live, to be honest. Yeah, because it started that I have some decision at work I didn't really like that made me make the choice to start my business. Then again, a family health scare crisis made, and I have to make decision, with whether am I going to continue my business or am I going to cease operation just so that I can spend more time with family. Okay, but then I do have to bring food to the table, right? I need to hold the family together. I need to be responsible to my clients back then. Yeah, so this is where I have to navigate through and making the tough decision. Yeah. And many times it's just like making things work, even though it is the difficult moments.
Yeah. But I can imagine it being a really brave decision when you say, hey, the company wants you to do something and you really don't want to and it's against your value. And I mean, you could also choose to find another job, but you choose to start your own company, which is a different path. So what gives you that moment? Because that's a reinvention, the identity going from working for someone else to actually start your own company, which I've just experiencing for the last 2 years. And I still feel like I'm experiencing that reinvention. I love to sort of learn from you. You're doing that for quite a few years now. But what made you make that decision instead of just find another job? You started your own company.
You see, because if I were to find another job, right, being in a senior management role, I'm always the one who have to make the tough decision. Yeah, and to execute, the uncomfortable and unpleasant news to staff. Whenever it's like, termination, retrenchment. And this isn't really what I want because many times the business make decision based on is this staff a value to the business? But then again, being in the retail and service industry, right, many times the upper management doesn't have direct communication with the staff. It's all through message. Yeah. And such a decision made maybe because of miscommunication. Yeah. So it is unfair. And for me, it's like, do I really want to make, a work fulfilling? Or do I want to have a fulfilling life out of it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Me being in the sales and service industry, everything is about numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. But when I'm in my business, I can have a more fulfilling life. Yeah, and bring more value to my clients.
Great.
It's not just about numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess being a business leader, I mean, owning your own business, how has that identity reinvention looked like for you?
I think over the years, it is the trust that I have from my clients. Back then when I was hesitating whether should I cease the business, right? I actually sent messages to my clients telling them that, I'm facing this situation and I will have to refund them all the package because I wouldn't know how much time I need to spend with my family. But at that point of time, none of the clients accepted a refund. Yeah, so like the text that they send me, they're telling me, okay, take the time you need, we'll wait for you. So, they did have to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is like the trust and the value that that we have actually developed within our clients.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's definitely a very different experience as a business owner, the type of connection we have with our clients versus kind of working for someone else and then they're kind of the client of the company and we sort of serve as that relationship. So I think I'm reflecting on my own journey now, starting up my own company. I think that trust, that relationship building in a very non-filter way, it really makes me have a new reflection of what my own identity when it comes to what does high performance look like. Because when you're in a company, being a high performer as an identity or being a senior manager as identity looks very different now as a business leader. So it's a great reminder that layer as being the major difference.
Susan, when is staying true to your values a strength, and how can it actually limit your growth?
It's a good question, right? I think staying true to my strength, which for me, I've always been someone who believes that we can't just go with a status quo, which is how do we think about doing things more innovatively, doing things differently, always thinking about improvement. But I think it can also restrict my growth, especially in a company setting, because not all company needs someone to constantly say, we can do better. This is not so good. We can do better. At some point being a rebel, someone's going to say, okay, just stop talking and just do what you're told. And I don't think just do what I'm told is as strong of a strength of mine. I think my strength is be able to keep spotting opportunities of improvement and find ways to do that. So I think at a certain point of my career, so I've been working in-house as head of HR for about 18 years, right? At some point, you're just like, I don't think this is going to work because it's now stalling my growth because what I want to keep doing and innovating may not be what's needed for the company or necessarily appreciated at that point in time, right? So I can, that can both be the strength and how it does not allow me to grow in a very let me put growth in a very traditional sense, right? Like growth in a career ladder within, a company.
Okay. And how much of our identity is built from passion and how much from survival instinct?
Wow. I feel like when we're a bit younger and, maybe when we're really young, there's a level of passion doing the things that you love to do, but also being really influenced by our societal choices. So I don't know about you, because being Asian, I remember my mom and dad thinks I must play piano. I don't think I'm really interested in piano that much, but I have sit there and practice because that was believed what a good little Asian girl should do. But what I really loved was actually singing. So I think when I was younger, I had to do my piano thing, do the exam, do the practice. So that wasn't a passion, right, that I follow. And when I was a little bit older, when I was able to choose what subject I want to do at university, I end up spending quite some time to do vocal, singing. But then you come out and you kind of find a job. You're like, oh, I cannot, I'm not pretty enough to be K-pop. So, let's move on. What is my next feasible career choice? And I went into HR before it was HR. I think that was somewhat driven, not passion. I think it will be very fake if I say I was so passionate about HR. I don't know anyone is, but I was really curious and really interested in just human being and also humans interaction within their work. So I was driven by, I would say, more curiosity than passion, and then eventually develop a passionate enough to say, when I have a chance to start my own company, I could do something completely different, like amazing people I met. They will do baking on it, because that's like their passion that they can turn into actual real job. At that juncture, I still choose to go back to HR, but using the passion of innovation and change to anchor on the company. So I think throughout life, you kind of, in different moments, you follow, what's needed, but hopefully eventually land to a space of passion.
Yeah. And industry is built on, built from passion, and helping people through pain. How do we balance purpose with profits? Especially in your business.
It's interesting to say pain, right? To a certain extent, I mean, we work with organizations because there are pain points in the organization. How do you balance that with profit? I think when you have your own company, you also sort of, alluded to earlier, I think it's not about necessarily profit, but it's about sustainability though. Yes. I need to make enough to sustain, right? I have a team of 5. I have 5 people on my payroll. I need to make sure I pay people. That is my number one priority. So it's not about making profit. It's not like, oh, this is much as the target. I think there's sustainability. Are we delivering good results and impact? All these things. I do believe if you do all these things right, hopefully the money will come. You will have the right profit points. But the starting point is never really profit. It's about impact. It's about sustainability. But I think I'm in a space that HR is not also the same as when you talk about your business, which is really touching people in such pivotal moment of life. I mean, to be fair, we touch people's career, which is also a very pivotal moment. But you're talking about becoming parents or, navigating missed opportunities. They didn't become parent yet. I feel like that journey is also a very different. How do you balance the financials and doing the work that is really impactful?
Wow. Like you mentioned, it is more on survival. Profit is not like what I initially thought. We saw people starting a business, living in big houses, driving fancy cars. But when I started my business, it is really like profit for the business to be sustained and also with purpose. Yeah, because purpose is what keep me going. And having the right purpose, having the trust from our clients, only then I'm able to have a profitable business. Yeah. And when we are talking about profitable businesses, especially now, it is very tough, right? Like everything is increasing. My rent increased by 20%. It is more on to ensure the business is able to sustain in order for us to keep providing values and bring purpose to the business.
Yeah. No, exactly. And I used to be, I'm not, I used to be that type of person. I don't even do my own personal budget.
Me too.
Right? And then we're like, oh, we're going to be businesswoman. All of a sudden, I have to know every single cent of what I'm spending. And all of a sudden, I think knowing my numbers take on a whole different meaning of impact and responsibility and sustainability. So yeah, it's kind of and that is kind of identity shift for me actually, because I used to have a somewhat attachment to an identity where I don't know money. I just very happy going. I was working. I had a steady income. I was like, okay, my motto is never spend more than you earn. That's it. That's my financial advice. Okay, those who are listening, this is not a financial advice. This is just my way of managing. So I almost clung on to this identity of like, oh, happy-go-lucky, money is not a thing. To like now, I'm like very, like I know my numbers. Where are the invoices coming in? What does this mean for our pipeline? Are we thinking about investing back into the community? Which is a new identity I'm actually navigating.
Right. This is also a learning process for me. We are so used to getting paycheck. So I'm like, it's okay. I have savings. It's sufficient. But when we're in a business, the numbers in the bank doesn't equals to profit.
Yes, correct.
We will never know what happened, just like COVID hit.
Yeah.
Okay, then we have to pause our services. Salaries need to be paid. We have staff. Overhead. So it is really a learning process, and going to the right person helps me. Like, I'm bad with numbers. I depend a lot on my accountants.
Yeah. So having a good accountant is really important.
Yes, like keeping the numbers in check and in good status.
Yeah. But can I ask you a question? Because we talk about COVID a little bit, and I started my business only after COVID. I gave birth during COVID, but you started before COVID, right? I always find it extremely amazing to understand how business navigating that time, because it's a long period of time, and with the business that you run that is so service oriented, so human touch, is touch oriented. So when you're in a time that you can't touch, what did you do? What did you have to do to sort of keep it going through COVID and growing after?
Okay. So in fact, COVID was a period where it actually helped us to regain the trust from our clients and our community. Because just before the announcement of circuit breaker, right, we have already prepared all the oil blends, and we delivered personally to our clients just so that they are able to, apply our blends when we are unable to have the service. It's like we've put in so much effort, having regular sessions to condition and to ensure their body is always in good condition for conception, correct? But when we can't have service, the first thing that comes to my mind is, what is going to happen to all our effort? And how can we maintain or to keep their body in good condition? So we prepare oil blends for clients to apply at home. We arrange for weekly Zoom.
I love it.
Yeah,
Do you like give them instruction? What?
Yes. Like, we need the engagement.
Yeah.
We have live stream with TCM physician, sharing tips on home massage, sharing tips with food recipe, and we have also a fitness coach. And we conduct like virtual stretching exercise that is very helpful for ladies who are trying to conceive. So this period of time actually helped the brand as a whole, because it really engaged. We are able to keep the engagement.
So that helps you sort of throughout the period to continue, and then sort of once the circuit breaker, oh my God, I haven't said the word circuit breaker for so long. It's such a vocabulary that I'm not, like we haven't said it for so long. So it sounded like sort of keeping that engagement through that period of time was sort of the main thing, which I love that you're able to say, we use this as a chance to gain more trust, right? It's such a positive way to think when things have changed and pivoted. We have to pivot in the business as well.
Yeah, it was really tough because, like, for our industry, we are under the red alert. So we wouldn't know when are we able to resume business.
Yeah.
Thankfully, this is the first time where I see our industry players really come together, and we work out a plan, proposal to the government sector on how can we resume business while keeping everyone safe.
Yeah. That's amazing. That's
correct.
Amazing.
Well, I can still remember the sleepless night, the anxiety.
Yeah, but you thrive through, so you continue. So that is fascinating. That's amazing. And a great
Yeah,
story.
I'm grateful. Yeah. Running a wellness business doesn't mean I've always lived in wellness myself. In fact, there are many seasons where my own needs, right, came last.
Yes.
Yeah, between clients, personal crises, trying to hold everything together, I slid into burnout. Yeah, I remember nights of unhealthy eating and sleeplessness, like, I have insomnia. Watching my own body pay the price, right? It is a very strange irony, like being the one helping others heal, while quietly I'm unraveling myself. Yeah. So like it makes me reflect on question like, when you are the one helping others heal, who helps you?
Oh my God, it's so true. I mean, even in our business, right? So we also do organizational development and coaching. And I have to say, sometimes I'm like, who is going to coach me? Or sometimes because we're so invested in the growth of our clients that, we work 12-hour days, 13-hour days. And you're right. The question is who take care of us, right? And I have to say I'm terrible at that balance. I'm still trying to find that balance, partly because we're still fairly new in our business journey, right? We're 2 years in. I still feel like we're still growing, figuring out ways to continue to engage with potential clients. We're building technology. It's hard. The burnout is real. Yeah, and I almost feel like I currently compartmentalize that burnout. Right, to say, okay, this is efficiency. I need to do this, so I'm gonna get it done. But yeah, how do you know when you're in burnout zone?
Well, the mental exhaustion, fatigue. And of course, it affected my physical outlook, right? Like there was a period of time I gained almost 18 kg.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was feeling tired every day. There was a period of time I needed massage every day.
Well, at least you have good access to that. That's the caveat of the situation. But it's not normal, right? It's something that your body is sending you a signal.
Correct. And, the red alert came where there was a time where I was, we are having a dinner gathering at my friend's home and I knocked out.
Like you fell asleep?
Yes. They couldn't wake me up.
Like in the middle of the meal?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh. So this actually got me worried. I contacted my clients who are doctor, telling them my symptoms. Then they say, okay, babe, maybe you should visit the doctor. Yeah, so I went for a sleep test, and I was diagnosed with severely obstructive sleep disorder.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and of course during that time, right, we did very detailed scan and they pick up something else, which really wake me up. Like what is going to happen to my family and my business if I were to fail. Yeah, so this is a wake-up call to me to, let me know that, hey, you need to look back to yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't pour from an empty glass, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. If I want to add value to my clients or to people that I care for, I love for, I need to take care of myself first.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is where I start, mentally, for my mental health, I visited a therapist. Yeah, and I started personal training, going...
You look great, by the way.
Still a work in progress. Work in process, yeah. And attending personal development course. Yeah, so this actually keeps me grounded.
Yeah.
Yeah, and keeping myself in track.
Yeah. And I think that being able to recognize our body for signs of burnout is really important, right? I mean, when you say you fall asleep during dinner, that sounded like you're already deep into the burnout stage.
Yes.
So it's almost like, how do we have a deeper connection with our body to know when you're on the verge of burning out, right? And I remember at a certain point in my life when I was sort of working and doing my PhD and sort of navigating, I was changing job and I was sort of at that burnout stage. I remember what was really scary for me was I no longer enjoy the things I do. Like basically it's a bit like zombie, like it's like you just go through. It's different to compartmentalize. Compartmentalize more like my energy be like, this is focus. But that was more like I just find no interest and meaning in anything I do. I was like, what's the point of doing this PhD? Nobody's gonna care about my research. And when I start having that conversation in my head, I was like, okay, something's going on. What is it? And maybe I was a little bit younger, so I don't think my body was sending the signal in the sense that like I wasn't like putting on weight or breaking out or sleeping funny, but I was distinctively feeling like I don't enjoy anything I do in my life. And then sort of that was when I went and saw someone and they were but like, okay, there's too much going on. You are, sort of in that burnout stage. And that was when I realized it doesn't always show up the way that you think it's going to show up in your body, right? So how do we train and learn about what that looks like for us and our signal? I think it's going to be important.
Yes. And can caring for others become an unhealthy addiction?
Well, you're in a business of caring for people, and I'm sort of in the business of caring for people in a different way, right? Unhealthy addiction. I think so. Because, we all love to feel like we're needed and wanted and important and having that intimacy, right? In the sense that, for example, for me as a coach or working with business leader, they give me their most vulnerable self, right? I see founders breaking down and say, oh my God, I'm worried about my business, or senior leader to say, I feel terrible about, I'm not in control of my team or I'm not hitting target. I feel like we're in the point of privilege. You're working with clients at the a vulnerable point of their life, thinking about conceiving and once conceived. So I'm pretty sure we all have a little bit of that complex of like being helpful and that we can have positive impact to others. And it probably is a bit of addiction.
Yes, I remember the question I will always have for myself is, how can I add more value to others? How can I help you? How can I help them?
Yeah.
And there was a point where my clients actually paused our conversation and she asked me, like, you have been helping others. How about yourself? Yeah, that's where it really right. And as much as we want to help others, we do need to set boundaries.
Yeah.
So that we do not cause burnout from there.
I'm terrible at setting boundaries. I have to admit, like my clients can call me at 11 p.m. They know that I will respond and I will be worried, right? I'm like, 11 p.m. something. In reality, probably nothing is burning down.
I mean, likewise to me.
Yeah.
I used to answer calls at 2 a.m.
Yeah.
3 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we care.
Yeah.
We really do care. That's why we're in the business of caring, right?
Yeah. It's not as easy as, okay, right now it's my working hours.
Yeah.
And it's my family hours. There's no work-life balance. It's work-life integration.
Yeah. Let's talk about work-life balance because I feel like it's a myth, right? I think when people say, one way to conquer burnout is having boundaries and work-life balance, but that's easier said than done. I mean, do you feel like you have work-life balance?
No. But I'm working towards it.
Okay.
Yeah. I wouldn't say balance. Balance, it is hard to have balance, right? Because priorities changes from time to time. And we do need to look at the urgency, the important matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really on how to get this work.
Work-life integration.
Yes, as an ecosystem.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure.
Yeah. And how do you know when dedication has tipped into self-neglect?
I think, now I generally go by the rule if I stop enjoying what I do, it's probably I've neglected my own needs, right? It doesn't necessarily mean that what I do, I no longer find purpose, but it probably means that I'm doing it on an empty tank. So I do take a bit stronger stock take these days to say, am I enjoying this moment, this thing I'm doing? Okay, if I'm not, let's take a stock take on, is it the actual work I'm doing? Which actually not, is a lot of time is just, am I filling in my own tank? Am I filling my own fuel? I mean, there will be weeks I'm so busy that I eat in front of my desk, right? And then I'm kind of like, okay, at some point I gotta pause because I'm not enjoying this and I need to take myself out for a nice lunch, or something like that. But being super self-aware becomes, I think, a really important part of recognizing if that neglect. Because I realize also people around you don't necessarily can see that for you.
Yeah.
So you have to realize that yourself.
It's really practicing mindfulness.
Yeah.
And self-compassion.
Yeah. But I would say it's more than self-compassion though, right? Because self-compassion is a little bit more like you recognize your own, sort of be like compassionate towards yourself of sometimes your bad decisions and bad choices versus actually taking action to move beyond being compassionate, but now like I'm gonna take action so I'm not self-sabotaging. I think that's a space between thinking about it to actually doing it becomes like really important. And to solve burnout or making sure we don't get there, I think we actually have to take action that's above and beyond that self-compassion.
Yeah. We do need to provide ourselves with oxygen mask.
Yeah. Put your own mask on before you put it on for others.
Yeah. Trust has never come easy for me. Over the years, it has been tested in business and in my personal life. There were business partners who tried to shortchange, or source substandard products, risking the trust I had that I have built with clients. And of course, in my personal relationship, I've learned the hard way that trust and protection aren't always guaranteed. So this experience forced me to ask, how do you protect your clients without micromanaging the people you work with?
Oh, such a great question. It's really hard as business owners because I think a lot of time your early growth and clientele comes from trusting you, right? As you build out a team, you are at their trust point. So that balance becomes really hard. Something I always say running a business is an intersection between scaling intimacy and driving efficiency. Right.
Wow, I like this illustration.
So I'm like, but my job is continue to drive those intimacy and trust, and I need to be able to give my team the ability to drive those efficiency and finding that balance there. So that's kind of what I'm working towards, but it's really hard because you want to kind of make sure, because your team, even on the efficiency side, it will impact the client experience, right? So even you don't have to do it, someone else should be able to package those things and send to your client, right? Or I know my team can do something and then send it to a client, but I have to make sure I look at it. And, I have to make sure that there is the quality that I always look for in there. So that balance has been really hard. And I don't know if it's about trust or is it just our own idealism as a business owner, what we want our client to experience. So I find myself trying to find the balance between the idealism and practical, implications to achieving that.
Right. This is really a wisdom. So keep applying, because likewise for myself, right, I tend to want to do everything by myself.
Yeah. Because it's faster, it's better, it's just in general, you can trust the outcome. It's just the nature of, I think, being a business owner.
Correct. But this is going to restrict or limit the business growth and expansion. Yeah.
Yes.
So over the years, I've learned, getting the right person in the team and having the right system help to take the worry away from me. I just trust the people, trust the system.
Oh, that is so true. The people and the system, right? So again, I love your wisdom from building the business for much longer time, right? Me being early 2 years in, I'm still building the system. I'm still making sure there's the right people, in the team that would continue to grow together. So I'm happy to hear building people and system is the right way, but it will probably take time. But let me ask you, at what point in your business do you feel like, oh, I've got the right people and the right system? Give me some light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I love you, my team. I love you if you're listening.
Yeah, so for mine is when I start seeing, the initiative from my team, from my staff, they will take the initiative to check in with clients. How are they feeling? How's their results? And they even, research. They did their own research during their free time, during their off days on, a certain condition and what will this impact on conception? How can we help them from our job scope? So I know that, I've got the right person because she have the empathy for our clients, which is very important. Because clients come to us when they are vulnerable. I need someone who is a safe person that they can go to. Yeah. And the system-wise is really to make it seamless. So in my business, we do not incentivize based on commission because I do not want this to be a very sales-oriented place. So we incentivize it through pregnancy rate. So it's through success
true
rate.
Outcome. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the system for this actually helped because then the question that we will always ask each other is, how can we help this client get pregnant sooner? Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. And how many years into your business you start feeling that sense of peace? I'm just curious.
In my second year.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good. Okay,
It was
so
also,
I should feel that way soon.
Well, because I started the business as a solopreneur.
Yeah.
Until the family health scare, then that actually let me know that in order for me to be responsible to my client, I need help. Yeah, so in the event, if I need to be away from work, our clients' sessions wouldn't be, disrupted. Yeah. So this is actually what pushed me to expand my team.
Yeah. I love that. Sort of reminding that you can't be the single point of failure, right?
Correct.
But I also think one of the hardest thing is, how do I find people who care about your business as much as me or as much as the business owner, right? I think that's where I think what you talk about, the purpose, the mission becomes really important, is how do you make sure you hire people aligned to that mission and vision and the change that you want to impart on your clients as well.
I think communications plays a very important part. We talk about this day in, day out, even during our meal times. So the topic will always be, how can we add more value? And how is this client? It's always from the angle of empathy, care.
Yeah.
Yeah. And always wanting to provide a safe space for clients. So when our communications are within this topic, the things that we do as well, I think this actually conditioned us, including my team, to think from these angles.
Yeah.
Pause for a flash break. Sponsor edition. The people who have come on today, we have kind of two fashion brands.
Okay.
And they are very intentional in the way that they have crafted themselves and who they want to serve and what they want to present. Right. So the first one is actually like a women's wear line called Anya Active.
Anya Active.
Yeah.
Okay.
And what I really enjoyed looking through at them was like how intentionally they crafted fabric to match to activity. Right?
So it's they really consider the function of it.
Correct.
Right.
So it's all about experiencing, like, if I am the person doing the activity, how should my how should what I'm wearing feel on my body. Right? So if it's walking or yoga, there's a line that is specifically focused on being softer and less compression.
That's Dream Lux.
That's the Dream Lux, right?
Okay.
And if you're doing more intense things like strength training or maybe aerobics, then you need a few more support. They would up the compression level.
Yep. So that's your level up.
Correct, right? And like reduce the softness so you can feel more secure.
Supported.
Yes, more supported.
Yeah.
And then the last one is around I think
Super airy.
super airy, right? So very
Loose fitting.
It's very cute. The phrasing they used was for more layering, right? So I think if you want to like mix around and play with a bit of styles, then that's the piece that you can match together to form different layers. And I also love that they thought about, because it's an activewear brand, right? So everything is antimicrobial, right? To make sure we combat those nasty microbes that create like bad smells.
Yes.
Yeah. Are you familiar with athleisure? Like, what do you wear? Yeah.
What do I wear?
Yeah.
I wear Lululemon.
Not so much other brands.
But I mean, having said that, it's always about trying different brands
Yes.
that make you feel like they have this buttery feeling.
Yeah.
Like you wear it, but then you don't feel like you're wearing anything that's like constraining you, constricting
okay.
you. But where it needs to support you, it supports you. And I think again, it's back to quality, how it makes you feel, and again how long you can use it, durability.
I see.
Right.
Okay. Yeah. And then, so that's Anya Active, and what they have provided us, our listeners, with is that at checkout you can use AACYT10 for $10 off for the first 30 people. Right, so check out their things on their website. This is only for ladies, so gentlemen, sorry. Our next partner will have something for you. But for Anya Active, it's mainly for the ladies, so you can check out their website to find your next piece of activewear.
Yes, and this code is only available for the first 30 people. It expires at the end of October 2025.
Yes. So there's a bit of act fast.
Yes, act fast if you are keen to utilize this offer.
Now back to the rest of the episode.
Great. Thank you. I mean, I'm looking forward to being in a space that feels a little bit more aligned in terms of people and systems and, being able to drive that growth as well.
Yeah, but as a business owner, sometimes this would always bring up a conflict, because then we do know that there are so many other ways that we can implement that can help the business grow much faster. Yeah. But then it is always a balancing between result and outcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether do I want the profit or do I want the purpose?
Yeah. No, that is a balance. And that's why I also ask myself and the team is that how fast do we want to grow and how big do we want to scale, right? Instead of, taking a bit of a slower growth, but making sure that we're making the impact, right? We're helping the organization grow. We're helping our coaching clients grow and expand their own horizon of depth. I think that is much better than us just focusing on, getting more clients and getting more client. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when a purpose is being achieved, eventually clients come.
Yes. Agreed.
Yeah, okay. And how do you decide if a partnership, whether is it professional or personal, is it still worth the risk?
I think the partnership, whether it's personal or work, that is not working is when the values are no longer aligned. I think fundamentally, if you can tell the value isn't aligned and that shows through your approach to work and then eventually the impact, I think that's when you have to have the really difficult conversations. And I've had to do that even in 2 years of our journey to part ways, because partnership also evolve, right? As the business evolve, when that sort of fundamental values no longer is aligned, then it's important to separate.
I truly agree with you, like values alignment is very important. The energy between partners.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it should be, it should amplify our purpose.
Yeah.
And not draining it.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Do you have partners
You mean for
Your
the
your
business?
business?
I have, so one part of our business, I have a co-founder. And so we have a technology side of business. So I did bring in like a co-founder / partner. But then for our service side of business, our consulting business, then it's just me, but then also the team.
Nice.
Yeah.
This is something that I'm still learning, you know, like working with partners.
Yeah.
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 There was a period of time I buy out my partner's shares.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not easy. And even just today, one of my coaching conversation is about, so she is a entrepreneur as well, and with her partner, it was never getting conflict with partners, right? And I literally asked her a few questions around, okay, she's kind of like, oh, some days I really appreciate my partner and some days I don't. So I'm like, okay, let's put a number on it. Are we talking about 50-50? Are we talking about 70-30, right? So she's a bit like, okay, it's like right now it's 50-50. And I'm kind of like, oh, okay. So you have to think about, does that 50% of that frustration worth that 50% that you said are the good days, right? That's number one. And I say the evolving conversation has to continue to be, are we still delivering the impact we're going to do together? Are we actually enjoying the partnership, right? I think fundamentally sometimes on paper it can all look perfect. If you feel like this, your gut feel just like this is harder than it should be, especially partners that start as friends. I find that really hard. So in this particular conversation having this, she was kind of like that, right? Like, we're friends, so, you know, there's things that I'm so annoyed she will turn up to meeting an hour late. But we're friends, where I'm like, but normally it's not okay, right? So finding that balance and asking yourself, is this still the right partnership, and having to part way when it isn't, I think it's a tough one to navigate. Working with friends is hard. Just like working with husband or wife is hard too, I think.
It takes a lot of wisdom.
A lot of boundaries, but a lot of flexibility as well.
Yeah. Being the sole business owner of Baby's Bliss meant that for years I made most decisions alone.
Yes.
Leadership can be incredibly lonely. And for a long time, I avoided networking. Because I felt it's too transactional. And too shallow.
Yeah.
But eventually, it took me many, many years. Only recently, I realized something really important, and that is like social capital matters.
Yes.
Yeah. Genuine collaboration with credible and reliable sources can help me to grow my business. And it also helped me to sustain the leader behind it. And when the weight of leadership felt too heavy, right, I turned to professional therapy, personal development, and it helped me to stay grounded and stronger. So like for your case wise, right, I always have this question, like, how do leaders navigate this lonely journey when there are so many connections that feel superficial?
I would agree with you around sometimes networking can feel superficial. So I would say one of the way that I do try not to fall into that trap is making sure like the interactions I choose to be has depth. And they are deeper connections, right? So I do think that in actually, funny enough, I feel like in my corporate life, some of those network becomes much more superficial versus now being a business owner. I think partly because I just don't have a lot of time left. So whenever I choose to be in a conversation, like the conversation we are having right now, I want to make sure those are impactful, has depth, and has interest that's worth the time, right? So being much more selective actually is a way to feel lonely, not the other way around. So being super selective around how do I spend my time, what type of community I'm part of. And then you're right, I think leadership does feel really lonely. So I love bouncing ideas off like with different people. So that has been my struggle, not having a partner. So only very recently, last few months, I brought in a partner in a specific part of the business that I know I really want innovation. I want people to challenge my thoughts, but also partly, quite frankly, protecting the business, also not making sure it's not a partner overall to everything in the organization, right? Because then things can get really, really tricky and complicated very quickly. So, using my time wisely, knowing where I need to have a second brain and second pair of eyes and bring someone in, has helped me to feel less lonely. But I don't know, on bad days, it still feels really lonely, honestly. Like you feel like all the decisions are me. If I make a bad decision, it's all on me. If I make a good decision, it's still all on me because now you have to figure out how to deliver. It feels lonely.
Yeah. I totally agree.
Do you feel lonely in your journey?
Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like I mentioned, right, it was only recently that I started going out to meet more people. Yeah. I think I used to be a very extrovert person, especially when I was working. I have like 80 to 100 staff under my wing. But once I transit into a business owner, I value one-to-one conversation and meaningful connection. That also means my circles become smaller.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I tend to be very protective of my business. So I live in this bubble so comfortably. Yeah. However, it does limit the business opportunity, right? Like I'm not going networking. Nobody know who I am, who the brand is. Yeah. So it is only like recently that I step out. But then, of course, curating meaningful relationship and with credible ones does really help.
Yeah.
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 Who do you go to, like leaders per se, turn to when they can't show weakness but crave authentic connection?
I have realized one of the best way to reset my own leadership is to be in conversations with people that's completely outside of my circle. So most recently, I went to an event. I was invited to an event by the architect sort of institute of architect. Like I'm not an architect, right? I'm an HR. What does HR got to do? And this actually topic is very much linked to this podcast. Actually, it's about wellness in space. So it was a talk from architecture, how they think about building architectures that facilitate wellness. Right. So I was fascinated. I'm not an architect, obviously. I think I know the topic about wellness. So, and one of the architects asked, what does wellness mean to you? And to hear that from an architect actually feels very different from another HR person asking me the same thing or an executive coach asking me the same thing. And I realized I've been so conditioned to think about my network to be within my space, right? Like leadership development, HR. I have so many HR network, to assuming so many startup founder teams network. There is a comfort zone that we operate in, like what you said. So instead of expanding a circle within that same circle, I'm like, maybe I need to curate a quality space where it's completely outside. Like they don't actually care that I'm in HR consulting. I do all this. They share their perspective and view about their interaction with human. Again, I was fascinated to think about how architects view space and wellness. And I think that really helped to center me. So in moments where I actually feel lonely, I want to go to a space where I can just tap into the different perspectives, and then I came out from that session feeling very energized. Just be able to just tap into a different type of conversation.
Amazing! This is a very good guide and tips even for myself. Yeah, like I'm just so used to being in the wellness industry. Yeah, and the topic is everyone is speaking the same language.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. And recently I joined a new group. Have you heard of Deep Human Club?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah, so like from this interaction, it really helped me grow a lot, and it really let me understand myself more.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I do not know what I don't know, right?
Yes, exactly. And sometimes we just have to be almost in like a more foreign place to discover the parts that we don't know about ourselves, than to be in a comfort space, to trying to reinvent that space. I think I'm glad that you found also a community that allows you to tap into the different parts.
Yeah, and it's also learning about me, myself, from different perspectives.
Yeah.
So I often threw myself into work as a way of avoiding conflict. And the truth is, my business grew out of my personal hardship. So my purpose gave me drive, but sometimes at a cost. So there comes a point where, I ask myself, how do you stop personal pain from driving your work in unhealthy ways?
Wow. Personal pain. It's really interesting, right? Because I think if we think about personal pain, it is our interpretation of an experience, right? And that underlying reflects a values and a purpose. Like, for example, when you said that pain of deciding I don't want to fire people, that is a experience, interpretation of experience, but underlying that is a value, right? So I think it's always going back to, okay, these are the action, these are the doing. What is the fundamental underlying value this actually facilitates? And I think reminding myself to anchor on those values versus like the painful experience or the experience that is driving that, so that you also don't almost go into this vicious cycle, right? So how do I continue to tap into the pain in order to continue to drive forward? I think there is sort of that fundamental piece to say, I'm going to tap into the value that drives me in that experience and making sure we move forward.
Can you run a mission-driven business without sacrificing your personal well-being?
No. At least not in the short run. I just don't, okay, but that's my personal perspective. So it's not a representation of this podcast, but I don't fully understand this concept of lifestyle business. People talk about, I'm building a lifestyle business. I work 2 hours a day and I earn millions. Like, I don't understand it. Maybe I don't have it in me to work 2 hours and earn millions. So for me, fundamentally, if you're building a mission-driven business, it's about creating impact, and the impact has to be felt at scale.
Yes.
You can't provide impact if it's not at scale. If I just impact one person, it's not a mission-driven business. It's a positive relationship, right? So in my head, in order to deliver on the mission of change that I want to see in organizations or HR, I have to work at scale. Means I have to work my ass off. It does mean that I'm going to have some burnout until, again, we can figure out the people, the system. But you know what's going to happen? We figure out the people and system. You're like, great, now I can impact more people. And you're going to work harder. And you think of more depth in your mission, right? I think it's if that something drives you, I don't think it's going to be realistic to say that, we are going to find that balance and not burn out. But I do think if you do see the impact of your work, you're tired, but hopefully not truly burnt out in a way that doesn't fuel the mission that you're trying to, deliver
Intention
on.
plays a very important part.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, I think so too.
But as a business owner, like what we mentioned earlier, you try to compartmentalize.
Compartmentalize, yes.
Yeah. I suffered burnout.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to remind ourselves, maybe scheduling wellness routine into our own lifestyle may help a bit.
Yeah, for sure. I've got Pilates scheduled tomorrow at lunchtime. That's my wellness habit. And I have to say I was doing it maybe like once a week, which really isn't wellness. That's just me taking a break and do some stretches. So I'm like, I have to commit it to 3 times a week. So I've been trying to build that in my routine. But But yeah, that's hard. It's about schedule, though. I think you're right. Having the discipline, schedule it in, so it is part of that commitment as you commit to other things in life.
Right. How do you know when you have outgrown the very business model that once saved you?
Wow, you're throwing all the deep question at the end. How do we? We're even just 2 years in, we're growing in the way that what our original business model is not already, because the original business model is so people dependent. There's only so much you can scale. Like when you're in a you're also in a very people intensive business, right?
Very.
But that's why I'm sure for the people intensive business, you start thinking about there's productization, there's different things you can add on. For us, there's also productization potentially, but on the technology side, right? So for the longest time, even when we talk about identity shift, we just talk about not being good with money. Another identity I had before was also, I'm not like the super savvy tech person. I do my one finger on my iPhone. I'm not the most tech savvy. So the fact that shifting my identity to become a tech founder is almost complete rediscovery of what I can do and how doing this will scale our impact. So I knew our business model is going to hit a wall very soon when we're so human intensive. So now we're in that, I will say, phase 2 of business models, understanding the layer, but we're a tech-enabled consultancy, not a tech company. So trying to make sure we balance so we don't lose sight of the impact of that human interaction, but adding that layer. So we're in the process of that. I'll tell you in a few months, how we're doing with that transition.
It's like a term of HR tech.
Yeah, but HR tech is much more tech-oriented, right? So we want to be tech-enabled rather than HR tech.
Yeah, okay. And can your work be your purpose without becoming your whole life?
Oh my God, you're making me say no. I think, at least for me right now, if I say yes, I can, I will be a bit of a hypocrite, right? Because right now, work is a big part of my life, a big part of how I articulate my purpose and delivering on my purpose and vision. But of course, I think about there's multi-dimensions of life, right? But I also know I have a role. I'm a daughter. I am a parent. I'm a wife. And then, of course, I have this part of the business as well. So how do I make sure that multi-dimensionalness is still coming through, right? I think when it says things taking over your life is because one part of your life becomes too mono-dimension into the things that you do. So right now, I'm definitely a bit off balance, to be honest. I spend a lot of time working. I spend a lot of time thinking about work. But I hope this is what that multi-dimension is, which means that you can tap into the different parts of it in different seasons, right? Like you said, if there is, a space and time you need to spend more time with the family, that's when how do you find ways to find this balance? But right now, I don't know if I can and truly answer that and say it's possible.
Yeah, because right now work, especially if it is our business, is like our baby.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel you 100%. Yeah, purpose is beautiful. But if we are not careful, it can become consuming. Yeah. So the challenge in learning is to serve from fullness, not emptiness.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. And like you mentioned, right, to let purpose be part of your identity, but not all of it.
Yes.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone. And don't forget to subscribe.